Have you ever wondered what it takes to rise from the ashes of complete financial devastation and rebuild an empire? Picture this: a real estate mogul who once commanded Manhattan's skyline suddenly finds himself drowning in debt, facing bankruptcy, and watching his carefully constructed world crumble around him. Most people would surrender to defeat, but what if I told you the same person not only survived, but came back stronger than ever? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most compelling comeback stories in American business history, and the lessons it contains might just change how you approach your own challenges forever. Published in 1997, The Art of the Comeback represents Donald Trump's raw and unfiltered account of his journey through one of the most challenging periods of his business career. This book emerges from the depths of the early 1990s recession, when Trump's real estate empire teetered on the brink of collapse under the weight of massive debt and economic turmoil. Unlike typical business memoirs that gloss over failures, this work offers readers an intimate look at what happens when everything you've built threatens to disappear overnight. The book serves as both a cautionary tale and an inspirational guide, written during a time when Trump's name was synonymous with financial trouble rather than success. What makes this work particularly compelling is its timing, written not from the comfortable distance of decades later, but in the immediate aftermath of crisis, while the lessons were still fresh and the scars still healing. Trump doesn't shy away from acknowledging his mistakes, miscalculations, and the role his own decisions played in creating the crisis he faced. The narrative unfolds as a masterclass in crisis management, revealing the psychological and strategic elements required to navigate catastrophic business failure. Through personal anecdotes, behind-the-scenes negotiations, and candid reflections, Trump provides readers with a blueprint for survival when facing seemingly insurmountable odds. The book challenges conventional wisdom about failure, suggesting that setbacks can become the foundation for even greater success when approached with the right mindset and strategy. The Art of the Comeback chronicles Trump's descent from the heights of 1980s excess to the depths of early 1990s financial crisis, and his methodical climb back to prosperity. The story begins with Trump's empire at its peak, controlling billions in assets across hotels, casinos, and real estate properties. However, this success was built on a foundation of debt that became unsustainable when the economy shifted and interest rates climbed. The book details how Trump found himself personally liable for nearly $1 billion in debt, with creditors circling like vultures, and the media gleefully reporting on his potential downfall. Rather than filing for personal bankruptcy, Trump chose to fight, engaging in complex negotiations with dozens of banks and creditors. The narrative reveals the intricate dance of debt restructuring, where Trump had to convince lenders that keeping him alive financially was in their best interest. Throughout the crisis, Trump maintained his focus on preserving his core assets while strategically sacrificing others. He describes the painful process of selling properties he had personally developed, including the Trump Shuttle airline and his stake in the Plaza Hotel. The book explores how he leveraged his personal brand and reputation, even when both were under attack, to maintain credibility with business partners and financial institutions. The comeback strategy involved not just financial maneuvering, but a complete reimagining of his business approach. Trump shifted from high-leverage acquisitions to more conservative development projects, focusing on cash flow and sustainable growth rather than empire building. The narrative concludes with Trump's return to profitability and his emergence as a stronger, more strategic businessman who had learned valuable lessons about risk management and the importance of maintaining financial flexibility. The book's journey begins with Trump's recognition that his 1980s success had bred dangerous overconfidence. He describes how easy credit and booming markets had allowed him to accumulate properties worth billions while taking on crushing debt loads. The first major event involves his realization that the economic climate was shifting, but by then his financial structure was too complex and leveraged to quickly adjust. Trump details how he had personally guaranteed much of his corporate debt, a decision that would nearly destroy him when markets turned. The second pivotal moment centers on Trump's relationship with his bankers, particularly Citibank, which held the largest portion of his debt. He reveals how he had to transform from a demanding borrower into a supplicant, learning to work with creditors rather than against them. The negotiations were brutal and humiliating, requiring Trump to open his books completely and accept severe restrictions on his lifestyle and business operations. This period taught him the crucial difference between being wealthy on paper and having actual cash flow. The third major event involves Trump's decision to fight rather than surrender to bankruptcy. He describes the mental and emotional toll of this choice, including sleepless nights, constant stress, and the public humiliation of having his financial troubles splashed across newspaper headlines. Trump details how he had to compartmentalize his emotions while maintaining the appearance of confidence, understanding that any sign of panic would cause his entire structure to collapse. The fourth significant development covers Trump's strategic asset sales and the painful process of letting go of prized properties. He explains how he had to evaluate each holding, not sentimentally, but purely on its financial merit and strategic value. The sale of the Trump shuttle was particularly difficult, as it represented his diversification beyond real estate. However, these sales provided crucial liquidity and demonstrated to creditors his commitment to meeting obligations. The fifth major event details Trump's renegotiation of the Trump Castle casino bonds, which threatened to trigger a cascade of defaults across his empire. He describes the complex financial engineering required to restructure these obligations while maintaining operational control of his properties. This process taught him the importance of understanding every detail of his financial agreements and the power of persistence in negotiations. The sixth pivotal moment involves Trump's recognition that his comeback required more than just financial restructuring. He had to rebuild his reputation and credibility simultaneously. This meant carefully managing his public image, selectively engaging with media, and demonstrating through actions that he was still a viable business partner. Trump describes how he used his natural showmanship and media savvy to control the narrative of his recovery. The seventh major event covers Trump's return to profitability through more conservative business practices. He details how he shifted from acquisition-based growth to development projects with better risk-adjusted returns. This period saw him focusing on properties where he could maintain control while minimizing debt exposure, marking a fundamental change in his business philosophy. The final major event involves Trump's emergence from the crisis as a more sophisticated and strategic businessman. He describes how the experience taught him to value financial flexibility over maximum leverage, to maintain stronger relationships with financial partners, and to always prepare for economic downturns. This transformation positioned him for sustainable long-term success, rather than boom and bust cycles. The first crucial lesson from Trump's experience is that reputation can be your most valuable asset during a crisis. When everything else fails, your credibility and track record become the foundation for rebuilding. Trump demonstrates how maintaining relationships and honouring commitments, even when struggling, preserves the trust necessary for future opportunities. He shows that reputation is built over years, but can be preserved or destroyed by how you handle your worst moments. The second vital takeaway involves the power of persistence and refusing to accept defeat. Trump's decision to fight rather than surrender to bankruptcy wasn't just about ego, it was a strategic choice that ultimately saved his empire. He illustrates how many business failures result from giving up too early rather than from insurmountable obstacles. The book shows that persistence combined with strategic thinking can overcome seemingly impossible situations. The third important lesson centers on the necessity of understanding your financial position completely. Trump's troubles partly stemmed from not fully grasping the interconnected nature of his debt obligations. He teaches readers that success requires intimate knowledge of cash flow, debt structures, and the real cost of leverage. This knowledge becomes critical when economic conditions change and margins for error disappear. The fourth key insight involves the importance of maintaining flexibility in all business arrangements. Trump learned that rigid contracts and inflexible structures become liabilities during downturns. He advocates for building optionality into deals, maintaining access to capital, and avoiding personal guarantees that can transform business problems into personal catastrophes. Flexibility allows for adaptation when circumstances change unexpectedly. The fifth essential takeaway focuses on the value of negotiation skills and relationship management. Trump's survival depended on his ability to convince creditors that his success was in their interest. He demonstrates how effective negotiation requires understanding the other party's motivations and finding mutually beneficial solutions. The book shows that negotiation is not about winning, but about creating value for all parties involved. The sixth crucial lesson involves the importance of cash flow over net worth. Trump learned that being wealthy on paper means nothing if you cannot meet immediate obligations. He teaches readers to prioritize cash-generating assets and to maintain liquidity for unexpected challenges. This lesson applies to personal finances as well as business operations, emphasizing the security that comes from cash reserves. The seventh vital insight centers on the power of strategic asset management. Trump's comeback required him to evaluate every holding objectively and make difficult decisions about what to keep and what to sacrifice. He shows how emotional attachment to assets can cloud judgment and prevent necessary strategic moves. Sometimes preservation requires selective sacrifice. The eighth important takeaway involves the role of public perception in business success. Trump demonstrates how media management and public relations can influence business outcomes. He shows that controlling the narrative around your challenges can affect creditor confidence, partner relationships, and future opportunities. Public perception becomes a business asset that requires careful management. The ninth essential lesson focuses on the importance of learning from failure rather than simply surviving it. Trump's experience taught him to value sustainable growth over rapid expansion, to maintain stronger financial controls, and to prepare for economic cycles. He shows that failure becomes valuable when it fundamentally changes your approach to future challenges. The 10th crucial insight involves the power of maintaining confidence while acknowledging reality. Trump had to balance projecting strength with accepting help and making necessary changes. He demonstrates that effective leadership during crisis requires both confidence and humility, showing strength while adapting to new circumstances. This balance becomes critical for maintaining credibility during difficult periods. Conclusion: The Art of the Comeback stands as a powerful testament to the possibility of redemption and renewal in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Trump's journey from the brink of financial ruin to renewed success offers readers more than just an entertaining story. It provides a roadmap for navigating crisis and emerging stronger. The book's enduring value lies not in its celebrity authorship, but in its honest examination of failure, recovery, and the fundamental principles that govern both business success and personal resilience. What makes this work particularly compelling is its willingness to expose vulnerability and acknowledge mistakes while maintaining hope and determination. Trump's experience reminds us that success is not a straight line, but a series of peaks and valleys that test our character and resolve. The lessons contained within these pages extend far beyond real estate and business, offering insights applicable to anyone facing significant challenges in their professional or personal life. The book ultimately argues that comeback is not just possible, but can lead to greater success than original achievement. Through crisis comes clarity, through failure comes wisdom, and through persistence comes victory. Trump's story serves as both inspiration and instruction, showing that the same qualities that create success can also restore it when everything seems lost. For readers willing to learn from both triumph and disaster, The Art of the Comeback offers a masterclass in resilience and the unbreakable human spirit.